Moms like to do things that are productive. So it's like, well, I went on a walk today,
Right.
because then you're in your
I
mind,
moved
you're
my
like, well,
body.
still got exercise,
I'm habit
right?
stacking here.
Exactly. We have to habit stack. We have to be productive in our
I
self-care.
went on a walk and I listened to Audible and I wore a weighted vest and I was working on my Kegels and I
Exactly. Like, how many things can we stack in this? But it was me time because I was alone.
Right.
And
honey, guess what I just did?
Exactly. And so, this circles back to our conversation of that if you're sitting here and you're listening to this and you're like, okay, cool, I don't know what I want to do. The easier question a lot of times is, what don't I want to do?
Welcome to Permission to Be, where the messy middle finally gets a microphone.
Because let's be honest, life is not a highlight reel.
Here, we laugh at the absurd stuff, cry at the real stuff,
and talk about what it actually takes to find your way back to yourself. Hi,
Hello.
Welcome to episode 5 of Permission to Be. 5!
We are your hosts today. I am Jane Box.
I'm Shannon McClintock.
Welcome to Permission to Be.
Oh my God, we're really excited to be here. We're talking about kind of a heavy topic today.
Martyrdom.
There you go.
Oh, so Shannon and I, right before we hit record, we realized I have a really hard time saying it. So much so, if I said it 5 times in a row, I would butcher it.
I think anybody would at 5
try
times.
to. But I would like for the audience to know, what is it exactly? Because I think even between Shannon and I today, we had a misunderstanding of what is it actually defined as per the Webster Dictionary.
Yeah. So specifically, we're not just talking about we're talking about martyrdom in motherhood.
Right.
So how it shows up in motherhood. And I think probably our primary demographic is moms. And I do think that it's most prevalent in moms. I'm not taking that away that it also happens to women in general. So martyrdom is defined as the act or mindset of enduring suffering, hardship, or self-denial, often voluntarily, especially to uphold a belief, cause, or to serve others, sometimes at the expense of one's own needs or well-being.
Oh.
And the conversation, how this topic came up for Jane and I to want to talk about it, is that moms, and Jane and I grew up, I think pretty much most of our audience grew up with baby boomer parents.
What did you call the mom? Your mom? Like a June Cleaver?
She was a
type?
June Cleaver mom.
Both of our mothers fit that very, very well.
Yeah. My mom was the stay-at-home mom. I know your mom worked, but my mom was a stay-at-home mom. And I mean, we were everything. And so I think it's hard. Most of the beliefs that we have are what we see modeled in front of us, right? And I don't know about you, but I didn't grow up with moms that had other things in their lives that weren't judged for it. So if there was a working mom around, it was almost like she was judged for having that, or for not being enough of a mom because she also had a career.
Right. She chose work over being a stay-at-home mom.
Correct. Right. And whether or not that was a financial decision or whether or not they had to, it was like, I heard this quote one time that was, work like you don't have kids and parent like you don't work.
How do you do that?
You don't.
Right.
But that is, so I think as we look into why our generation of primarily probably Gen X and millennial, we had this generation that modeled that, like, June Cleaver was the mom to be, right? She was the thing. And it was either you had to eat, sleep, breathe, motherhood. That was your first priority, your first job, second job, and third job.
Right.
Or you weren't a good mom.
My mom did it all, and she suffered physically. She got really, really sick. She got ulcers, and they ruptured, and she had to be in the hospital, and they had to go in and remove them and clean them out because, to your point, she had the family business that she worked on. She was the stay-at-home mom. She was the provider. She was the meal creator. She was the laundry, all of the above, right? And we didn't have a cleaning lady, so then she also cleaned the house. And I'll never forget her being so sick. And in the moment, I didn't realize that that was her body putting up the white flag saying, no, this is not normal. This is not healthy. This is not balanced. Fast forward to us. I feel as though intuitively we can recognize our pre-programming, our past, and say, I don't choose that.
But I want to go into that. We can do that now. I think if you reversed back even a year for both of us,
100%.
It wouldn't have been that way.
Right.
And I think if you took a poll of
Mm.
women,
Uh-huh.
of moms, and you said, when you do something for yourself, whether that's going to the grocery store alone, or if that's going for coffee with a friend, or if that's, whatever it is, doing it for you. If you were to take a poll of women who did those things, how many of them felt guilty for doing those things? That poll would be pretty astounding. Like
Yeah.
it would predominantly be that even women who do things for themselves, that's where mom guilt, right? Like, have you ever wondered why you don't hear the term dad guilt? Like nobody ever talks about dad guilt. They talk about mom guilt.
Right. I have heard a lot of times, so I have a few very, very close family that will say, well, he's going on a trip, so I've earned this. Oh, he's going on another trip, so I'm just banking how many trips he goes on so then I can take a trip for me. So I'm just banking. And I thought, at the moment, that's awesome. Like, bank away. And now I look and I go, no, wait, because instead of banking it, just say, that's so wonderful that you're taking the time for you. I'm also going to go take time for me today, tomorrow, for the week.
Yeah.
You and I last year learned very quickly that taking the time for us is critical. It's akin to, at the end of the day, we all put our cell phones in a charger to recharge. Every day you and I do something for ourselves to recharge. So
Good
that way
analogy.
I'm a better mother, I'm a better spouse, I'm a better friend to you. There are times when you'll call and I'm not paying attention, I'm distracted, I'm irritated, and it's because, oh, I didn't charge myself. So I feel as though the trend is going in this direction, but I love that it's the permission to talk about the messy middle of, if you're still in that, I feel guilt and shame, how do we get you then into like the middle so that way you can experience it, play around, fumble, and then get to the other side where Shannon and I are, which is, nope, Shannon every Wednesday is going to go take pottery. Even if the house is burning down with the kids screaming, she's still going.
Peacing out. No, I remember reading Good Inside by Dr. Becky.
Yeah, I still
And
haven't read that.
my God, it's so good.
I've like read a few chapters, but I have not read it all the way through.
It's so good.
I
It's
know.
so good. It's worth it. My husband read it. I read it. My mom read it. It's amazing. It will change the way that you parent. I remember hearing this phrase in there that totally stuck with me, which
Wait,
was,
time out. Just so everybody knows, Shannon has, I swear, without her being tested, a photographic memory.
I do. Yes.
Because I will say something. She's like, that's not what they said. I'm like, I'm paraphrasing. She's like, you're not even paraphrasing correctly. So when Shannon says there's a quote, by golly, she is nailing that quote.
It is the quote.
Okay. And proceed.
No, and it's the idea that you're allowed to do something for yourself, even if it inconveniences someone else.
Ooh.
And that really shook me because I was the mom where, I think intuitively I did realize that I needed to do things for me to not become a barracuda, but it had to be when no one was inconvenienced.
Right.
It was like after the kids went to bed, or it was when my mom had the kids, which even I'm like the give it to me, I'll do it person.
Yeah.
I think a lot of moms are. And so even asking for help so that I could do these things, and like, God forbid it was something personal, right? If it was business related, I don't have as much of a trouble asking for somebody to take something on for me.
Right.
But if it was so that I could just go to the coffee shop and read my book, no, like I can't do that. And so I remember reading that quote and being like, wait, hold on.
You can.
I'm allowed to do something that inconveniences somebody else, that I'm not constantly making somebody else's life easier.
When I went to a neuroscience camp last year, and you're going to hear this phrase, neuroscience camp. Shannon is attending the first of 3 here in a few days. I have been taught, raised, ingrained. It's may I please, can I, would I, should I, could I, versus I'm going to go take a shower. I'm going to go take a bath. I'm not asking for permission, right? And I understand this is permission to be, but it's more of like giving yourself permission to just say exactly what you're going to go do without asking your partner, can I go do this? Because somewhere along the lines, we forgot the autonomy and the sovereignty of ourselves. So when you go to pottery, it's not, hey, babe, is that okay if I now go? It's, I'm going to pottery. I leave at 5:30. And then here comes 5:30 and you're out the door. So I'm even learning to stop asking and instead just do it.
Well, and I think that's a really good point that I don't ever think we've quite delineated about permission to be.
Mm.
Permission to be is your self
Yeah.
permission slip. It is not asking anyone else for permission. And I think that this fits perfectly into the idea of like martyrdom and motherhood, because
Yeah.
I do think that in general, we as humans look outward for permission to do things, even if it's like the clothing that you wear, right? Like if you put on an outfit, you're looking for other people's reactions to affirm that that was a good choice, to almost
Right.
give you permission
To
to
keep
wear it, right? Like, man, you're really rocking those pants. Okay, that's my permission. These are
right.
good pants. I want these.
And yet, my 8-year-old, she wears striped pants, polka dot shirt, mismatched colors,
Oh
and
yeah, there's no matching in my house.
but she loves it. And I realized that as a child, I probably did something similar, but then I was told it doesn't match. It doesn't coordinate. You look goofy, right? I wore these lime green sweatshirt, sweatpant tracksuit when I was in middle school.
Oh, I want pictures of that.
I don't even know if I have them, but I'll never forget because I was comfortable and I loved them. And I was very tan from the summer. And yet when I went to school, someone made fun of them. And so therefore, it wasn't permission to keep wearing them. In my head, I was like, oh, I'm not cool. Remove them. Don't ever wear them again because society has said I don't look good.
Yeah.
Whereas I will never tell my daughter, stop doing that. It's like rocket.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
all good.
And so as you go through this episode and any episode that we're talking about permission, it's never an outside permission
Mm-mm.
slip. It's always internal.
Inside.
It is giving yourself permission to realize that you recharging your batteries, like Jane was saying, is not selfish.
Yeah.
And this took me, I'm kind of ashamed to say it, but it took me the better part of a year to actually believe it. To realize that self-care is not a luxury. It is a non-negotiable.
Oh, totally.
And I've even said to my husband when he'll start to get snappy or he'll start to get irritated, I looked at him recently and I said, you know, when that starts happening to me, that is my biggest sign that I
Mm.
have not been taking care of myself.
Yeah. Recently with Seth and I, we've really adopted a beautiful schedule where he pours into himself, I pour into myself, right? That cell phone charge analogy before the children wake up. And we choose in our house just to wake up a little bit earlier so I can get a few things done because we are homeschooling. So our days, as Shannon knew last night, we were on the phone. She was like, what are you doing? I'm like, we're scheduling literally like every hour on the hour. We want to make sure we're as a team working together. But he doesn't ask for permission. He just wakes up in the morning and he goes takes care of himself. I do the same thing in the morning. And to your point, when you said it's taking you the better part of a year to figure that out, but kudos, it took you the better part of a year. I mean, that's not a bad thing. That's something to celebrate because if you look at all of us, if we're in our 30s or 40s or maybe even our 50s, is like I think like our primary demographic is if it takes you a year, how because the rest of your life, then you'd have to put down those rocks, as we said in episode 4, and instead pick up a lighter backpack and say, what am I going to do with my day for me? So I celebrate you that it took you a year because I think a lot of women need to hear that it's okay if it takes long time to get to that destination that you are seeking.
And I think, so that's a great segue, I think, so when we're speaking of martyrdom and motherhood, and martyrdom in general, right? Like it does not solely belong to moms. It's just most prevalent in moms.
Right.
And I think one of the places that it really struck me where I was like, wait, what am I doing? I would ask my husband if it was okay if I went and took a shower.
I've had that happen.
I would ask my husband, like, is now a good time for me to go to the bathroom?
Right. I need to go take a nap. And he's like, okay.
And if you flip that, what made me realize it is that, like you said, my husband doesn't ask if I can go take a shower. He just says like, I'm going to take a shower. And the other thing that really struck me, and this was a hard thing for me to learn, because I think especially when you're a mom with littler kids,
yeah,
it's the idea that you get to go to the bathroom by yourself, you get to go shower by yourself, you go grocery shopping without your kids. And I used to feel like that was self-care.
Mm-hmm.
That
So
is,
did I.
and this might trigger some people, but that is not self-care. That is basic hygiene and chores that you are just getting to do without your kids. And so I think for a lot of women, they're like, but I took a shower by myself today, but I went to the bathroom without everyone in my family finding me, but
Right.
I went grocery shopping without my kids. And then you find yourself snapping at your kids. You find yourself burnt out. You find yourself, irritated and on
Yeah.
edge. And that is because I finally had to come to terms with that was not self-care.
No. No.
Those are basic hygiene.
Well, and we've also done like in reverse, right? Episode 4, we talked about being a mother and the time commitment and how you have to your point, right? You have to schedule out your day, especially with little ones. You don't get to just walk away. And we talked about this, and I want to just explain it that we don't ever downgrade motherhood or people that choose not to have children.
No.
It's just different. And so a lot of people on social media were saying, well, but you guys chose this and we still contribute and we have a busy life. That's awesome. But primarily our demographic are women who choose to be mothers, are mothers, right? Some that can and cannot. And how we talked about this. If I were to give someone who has never had children, my child, especially as a baby, and say, good luck for 48 hours, they would realize that I'm not complaining about my day. I'm just saying our days are very different. And I want to be really articulate in this because martyrdom, especially for mothers, is hard because we have lived our life up until that point of giving birth, really having autonomy over our hours in the day. And when you have children, it becomes very, very different because now you are 100% responsible for that person and keeping them alive. And so to your point with martyrdom, I think it's so easy to fall into that trap of the guilt, the pressure. I have to keep doing more and more and more to justify my choices in life, or I have to look beautiful, right? The June cleaver. I go to the grocery store. I can't look like a slob because then it will look like I don't have my crap together. Versus it's okay. Everything's okay. And I think that's where it's the building of the bigger table. Like we see everybody for who they are. I'm just really clear that our lives are very different. People with children and people without. And I want to recognize the people with children, that we see them because it is very difficult at times.
And I think the other part about martyrdom and motherhood that makes it especially difficult is because, I don't know about you, but any given time, there's probably 40 tabs open. We talked about this. And the
bubbles in our head.
Bubbles. And one of those bubbles is self-care, right?
Yeah.
Nobody intuitively is like, I'm going to take absolute crap care of myself. I don't think anybody genuinely chooses that, right?
No.
What I think happens more than not is that it's almost like Cinderella in the ball. Like if she got all of her chores done, then she could go to the ball.
Right.
With that, at least what I had to kind of overcome was the idea that I could sit down and read my book, even if the house was not perfectly clean. I could take time for myself, even if the kids were not acting perfect. And I think the idea that you don't have to sort out all 40 tabs before you can earn time to pour into yourself, because that's where we come to pouring from an empty cup. That's
right.
where, everybody loves the analogy, put on your oxygen mask first, but like that is legit.
Right.
And there's a reason why when you talk about burnt out moms on Instagram, it goes viral because so many moms relate to it, but it's a cycle that you can't get out of.
No.
I remember this quote. And
of course
this
she
quote
does.
shook me
this
to the.
is what
I know.
I'm talking about.
That and song lyrics. If you knew the percentage of my brain
I don't
that
even
was
entertain
overcome by, I can hear a song from 30 years ago that I don't even know exists anymore, and I remember all the words.
Shannon is also a fantastic dancer, and I am the most awkward dancer, and so put us together, and I'm watching her just in complete adoration and jealousy while I'm flailing my arms back and forth, and I'm like, I like that move. I can't do that move. Okay, I'm going to try it. And it's just terrible.
We joke that, that like air guy in front of the Verizon store
that is me.
We joke that that's Jane.
My wingspan is of a car. But to your point, the quote that you remember.
Yeah. And this goes in general. This is just people pleasing in general.
Yeah.
But this quote, I think, will live rent free in my brain forever.
Okay.
At some point, you realize you don't have to set yourself on fire to keep others warm.
You've never said that quote to me, so I'm hearing it for the first time, and I'm a little perturbed because that has shook me.
I just heard it. I think a friend of ours said it. I don't know who it.
So this is like quite literally the messy middle where I feel like I just got put into a hurricane with that phrase.
It's a good one.
It's a great one.
It's a
Shame on
great
you.
one.
We've been friends since 2013, and she's just sharing this with me.
I just learned it like a month ago. Okay,
And you
come
didn't
on.
call me.
Well, apparently you don't follow my TikTok because I did post it on my TikTok.
True,
So.
true. I have to pick my lanes with social media.
No, but I think that quote kind of sums it up, right? I think as moms, we set ourselves on fire to keep everybody around us warm.
Oh, 100%. My daughter comes in this morning and she goes, "Mom, are you going to stop working and play with me?" And I said, "What would that look like for you?" And so she explained what it would look like. And I said, "Okay, I would be joyous to do all of that with you. But at this moment, mommy's going to complete her task. And when I'm done, we will do those things." Because what I've done is twofold. I've seen her, I've acknowledged what she is asking for, and I'm saying, yes, we're going to do this after I'm done with me, versus the martyrdom of like, okay, stop because she feels unseen, so I have to stop what I'm doing to go help her, versus I'm empowering her to learn through mom. I recognize, I see that you would like some attention. I will give that to you as soon as this project is done. Set the timer for 10 minutes. And so we're learning, and I say a timer just because right now we're in homeschool, so there's a lot of like clocks. I'm not saying you have to do that. It's working right now for our family. Scratch that, but it's helping.
And I love that. And I think that the number one thing is then don't feel any guilt for it, right? Like I think, and you and I see this a lot. We mentor women, and probably the number one thing that I hear is like, when I go in to do work or when I go to do something else, then like I feel like I'm disappointing my kids. And I implore you this is where the messy middle truly is.
Are you imploring me specifically, or are you imploring
our audience?
Because I sometimes, like Shannon sometimes will hit me with these things, and I'm like, okay, I'm in the corner with the dunce hat on, and I'm ready for my discipline.
No, you never have the dunce hat on. No, but I guess I'm speaking to the mom right now who's like, that sounds great. That sounds really great. I don't know how to do that. I don't know where to start. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know how to do it and not feel guilt. Want to take a minute and speak directly to that person, both of us, of how they actually do it.
So what would the step one? They wake up in the morning and they're overwhelmed. What's the first thing?
Step one is step into the messy middle. And I think that the only way that we learn, one is that we don't have it modeled around us very much. I like to call them expanders. So expanders are the people who expand your belief, expand the idea of something to you that's outside of what you know.
Right.
So, if Jane and I are an expander for that, then amazing. Find a woman around you that you feel is a good mom who actually does stuff for herself, right? So you're going to look for examples in your life.
I like that.
Of someone who is doing what you hope to do.
Wait, use that. Talk about the 5 people closest to you, because I actually feel like this could really be a wonderful tool.
I think Jim Rohn is the one who said that, like, you're the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with, right? And that really is true. It's been proven in, I think, Harvard studies and things. So you are the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. But I think that the biggest thing here is that look around at, if you are a stay-at-home mom, or if you are a mom who works and also has to take on all the duties around the house. The idea is find someone, like, look at who the people are around you and see, like, are those people confirming the belief that I have to die into myself to be a good mom? Or are those people expanding the belief that I can take care of myself and that doesn't make me a bad mom?
I love it.
And
just so you guys all know, my husband is gone. He's teaching down at the university, and I am alone in our home with our 2 children. I just told my son 15 minutes, we would be done wrapping up our episode for the podcast. He just brought in our timer for our homeschooling, and he set it for 15 minutes to let me know. But it's a great example of, I'm choosing to be here with my best friend on a podcast. And in 15 minutes, when that timer goes up for my family, it's a good indication that works for us. Then we will stop so I can then go pour into them. So again, choose the lane that makes sense for you, right? Pick the person that has something that you desire, and then start to baby step your way to emulate some of that.
And what I mean by this truly requires you to step into the messy middle. This
Mhm.
requires you to do it when it doesn't feel comfortable. Because the only way that you will actually learn and believe that doing things for yourself, even when it inconveniences someone else, that truly makes you a better mom.
Yeah.
The only way that you learn that is by doing it. And this isn't hypothetical. So I
No, no,
went through
no.
a training a long time ago where we learned about what's called the window of tolerance. And your window of tolerance is basically, if you're not on the video, it's like this window, right? Window of tolerance,
Yep.
where if you're inside of that window, you're okay. You can handle things, right? Like somebody burns a piece of toast, you're okay. You don't flip out. Your kid makes a loud siren noise, you don't lose your mind, right? And what determines how big or small this window of tolerance is are now some of it's determined by lifelong trauma and things like that.
Sure.
But a lot of it, especially as parents, is determined by how burnt out we are, right? So as you do less and less things for yourself and as you're constantly pouring into people, that window of tolerance actually gets smaller,
Smaller.
meaning that it takes less to
Right.
put
To
you
hit that
out
ceiling. Right.
of your window of tolerance. Now, what happens when you're outside of that window of tolerance? Little things or big things will completely set you off.
Yeah.
Like, and I know it when I'm there because it's like my son chewing next to my ear will make me rage. It's
Yeah.
that moment where you're like, why did I just lose it on
Yeah.
them for that? Like, why do I have no patience? Why do I have a short fuse? And that's because that window of tolerance has
That's
gotten
small.
so small because you have drained yourself over and over and over that it takes almost nothing to get out of it.
I love
Eh,
that analogy. You've said that to me a few times, and I have caught myself. And when I'm irritated, the first thing now that I do is, all right, my intellect is low because my emotions are high. Why? Why? Why am I so charged right now? And I can then quite literally, I can pinpoint, I didn't exercise or I didn't pour into myself. I didn't take time just to be with myself in a quieter setting. Because for me, that's what I thrive on. So my window is short.
Right. And I think for moms that scientifically you pouring into yourself widens your window of tolerance.
Mhm.
So this isn't hypothetical. This isn't new age. This
No.
isn't anything. It's not two women who just want to do things for ourselves. So we came up with it. Genuinely, you will find in doing it, right? And mind you, when you start and your window of tolerance is small because you haven't poured into yourself in 6 years, genuinely, like you consider
Right.
self-care taking a shower by yourself or going to the grocery store by yourself, that window of tolerance probably is pretty small.
Oh, yeah.
And so as you start, but the only way that you're actually going to widen it and see that it actually works is to do it.
I just have to pause. I like to put my legs up. So I got to
Oh, I
reposition.
can't sit like a normal human.
No,
You should see the chair. I have the ADHD chair that has like five,
I know.
like
It
I
sounds
can sit
amazing.
like 25 different ways. It's
But
amazing.
I remember they were little, right? I have an 8 and a 6-year-old. And all of a sudden, my husband would just be gone. And he was upstairs folding laundry. And he was, we wash our sheets once a week. So he was making the bed. He was helping, right? He was doing something that was for the greater good of the family. And my window was very short. And I was irritated. I was irritated because I wanted to do that, because that meant I got to listen to an audible and I got to be alone.
Totally.
And I'll never forget, we argued and he goes, so is it the act of doing laundry or is it the idea that you could have some alone time?
Ooh.
And I remember being like, it's alone time
Mm-hmm.
because I have really come to terms. I love myself. I like being alone with my thoughts and being alone in general. And so therefore I was jealous of him because he was alone. And we then quickly realized I was not putting on my oxygen mask on first. My window was short. I was charged irrationally and I was in a full resistance because I hadn't taken care of myself. And so it was more of finding ways. How are you being versus how are you doing? So how is Jane being? How is Shannon being today? We desire a little more time just for us.
It's
And
funny that you say that because I did that. My husband was cleaning and doing all sorts of things. And I remember looking at him because I forget what it was. He was going to go somewhere or travel or something. And I remember looking at him and being like, you can't clean all day. And he was like, what? And I'm like, no, you can't clean all day. And I was like, cleaning is easier than taking care of these kids.
Totally. And the thing, and they're great, right? Most of the time, but we're all on top of each other. We're going to bicker, we're going to fight, or it's just noise, right? We talked about this a few episodes ago that at the end of the day, our hormones are out of balance because we have put in all of our attention, all of our energy of the day, and now we're spent. The vacuum cleaning, the noise, the kids crying, the TV, the dog barking, lapping up water in the bowl the other day irritated me, and I realized I'm spent. But I also would like to make this point. We've said it before, and I have the one quote, and I'm hoping I don't butcher it today, so please bear with me. But it's, are you more interested in an unfamiliar heaven than living in your current familiar hell? And so for families and for mothers, if you're constantly burnt out and stressed, and if your window is short, then that is what you're currently used to, which is that familiar hell. And Shannon and I in 2025, we gave that up. And I look at it in everything, not just the body, but the mind, how we speak to one another, right? How Seth and I communicate, how my children communicate. Shannon said her Instagram influencer said, talk like I'm talking. So she said this on episode, I think it was 2, and I was like, I'm going to use it. And oh my goodness, it works, right? But I was more interested, instead of the familiar hell that I was currently in with the screaming and the yelling, I was more focused on what does the unfamiliar heaven look like? So I took one baby step, which was talk like I'm talking. And now here we have already shifted. So back to your point, where do you start? You start with one thing, one act, one
Not
quote.
a shower.
Not a shower.
So then let's talk about, this is a good segue to what have you and I found? And I think one of the things, and this is something I've run into multiple times with the women that I coach, is when I tell them go do something for yourself, they don't actually know what they want anymore. And it is shocking.
Or more so, they're like, I've done this. I would like to be acknowledged for how great I am because I got all these things done. And you're like, no. What did you do for you? Not what did you get done for the day?
Yes. But then if you were to say like, okay, Jane, you have an hour to go do anything that you want to do. The most common thing that I've run into is women saying like, I don't like, and I've even seen, memes on Instagram that are like, I have an hour to myself in my house.
That's like crickets.
Right. But it's like, what do I do laundry? Do I clean? Like I'm alone. And so this is self-care. Like I think as moms, we think that self-care means that you're alone doing whatever it is. But and I went through this too. And this was part of me realizing that I had really lost my identity, that I had pretty much stepped into wife and mom, and I knew who I was in those two roles. But as far as Shannon was concerned, I didn't know who I was anymore. And part of that realization came from me getting an hour to do whatever I wanted. And I'd be like, okay, how can I be productive? It was
I still struggle with that.
I do too. But I think now, well, one, that's unlearning the idea that you have to earn rest, that your worth is in how many things that you've done, right? Like I remember my husband would come home and I would list out everything that I got done in the day, as that would get me like an atta girl sort of thing.
I still do it, and he still catches me.
Right. And my husband would look at me and be like, why are you?
Because that's how I received love from my family, right? It was, what did you get done? Therefore, you've now earned my love.
Exactly. And I think that probably is the number one contributor to moms not feeling like they can do things for themselves, is if I get everything done on my to-do list, if I get everything done for everybody else, if I don't inconvenience a single person, I can do this for myself. And it is completely unraveling that self-care is no longer a treat. Self-care is no longer a reward.
No.
Self-care is quite literally non-negotiable. And so it's figuring out, and this doesn't mean that you have to give the middle finger to everyone in your family and tell them that you're taking off. But to your point of, and I had to learn this the hard way. So early on, I remember you and I took a trip together to San Diego.
Oh, that's right.
And I had 2 kids. This was kind of when I didn't really know who I was anymore. And I remember coming back and being like, okay, now I'm burnt out again. And I remember going through this with our therapist, and her being like, that's because it's feast or famine.
Mm.
And what it is, it's just like eating, right? Like if you were to be starving and then you sat down and you ate everything in front of you and it was this feast, but then you went back to not having any food, guess what happens? You get hungry again.
Well, didn't you go to Sweden and you had the time of your life? This was a few years ago, and it was a hellacious flight, right? Layovers and time change and all of that. And you came home, and Jared had to go on a business trip. So you were thrown right back into being a mother, and they were littler. So it wasn't all about going to school, right? They were home. And I remember you calling and saying, I didn't even get a moment to decompress. I'm jet lagged. I'm tired. I'm irritated. And I think it goes back to the window was short because you had fun and you enjoyed yourself, but at the expense of now you had to get thrown right back in.
And yeah. And I think the biggest thing that has made the biggest difference for you and I is realizing that like self-care doesn't look like a quarterly trip.
No.
Because a quarterly trip is not actually going to sustain the tank. A quarterly trip is going to be a nice blip, but guess what? You're going to be starving by the next trip. Your window of tolerance is going to be nothing. So for you and I, it's looked like finding things that, like you said, it's putting the cell phone on the charger daily.
Oh, yeah.
And that is what makes the biggest difference. And so props to you if you're getting a girls' trip every 3 months or whatever.
God, that's awesome.
But I guess my comeback to that, my challenge to that is what can you do every single day, even if it's 15 minutes, that is going to recharge your battery. So, and this even comes back to, and I didn't even realize this until you were talking about the cleaning thing, because I did snap at my husband for cleaning.
I think it happens more often than not.
I didn't have pottery for a month because the studio was closed. And so, and I got to start going back to pottery last night. And if you know me at all, I'm obsessed with pottery. And I only started it about a year and a half ago. But it's things like that, I go to pottery every single Tuesday night. I don't care if it inconveniences people. I don't care if other people have to bend and contort to make it happen. If that studio is open, barring some major thing, I'm going. Another thing that you and I have done, and this is a bigger topic
for probably another episode.
But Jane and I read voraciously.
Oh my gosh. I'm a speed reader on a mission.
She reads way faster than I do.
I genuinely want to have an apocalyptic type scenario happen and be stuck in a library. I am so happy. If I had a dream vacation, it would be put me in a library for 2 weeks, close the doors, and do not open them until 14 days later.
See, mine would be like on a beach in a hammock with a margarita in my hand and my Kindle. That would be.
Shannon and I, we love reading so much. And this goes to, what do we do for us?
Exactly. So it's figuring out, like, you wake up early in the morning. I don't.
Right.
But so it's those microscopic things of, if it's going walking. And I think, again, moms like to do things that are productive. So it's like, well, I went on a walk today.
Right.
Because then in your mind, you're like,
body.
well, still got exercise.
I'm habit stacking here.
Exactly. We have to habit stack. We have to be productive in our self-care.
I went on a walk and I listened to Audible and I wore a weighted vest and I was working on my Kegels and I...
Exactly. Like, how many things can we stack in this? But it was me time because I was alone.
Right. And honey, guess what I just did?
Exactly. And so, this circles back to our conversation of that if you're sitting here and you're listening to this and you're like, okay, cool, I don't know what I want to do. The easier question a lot of times is, what don't I want to do? What don't I want to do? So the easier question is, what don't I want to do?
Right.
And again, this is going to be trial and error. This is going to be like putting on a pair of hiking shoes and walking and being like, those ones don't feel good. I'm going to try a different one.
Right.
And so just trying and figuring out things. And my challenge is, do things that benefit nobody else. And that really is kind of when things change. Like me reading my book, guess what? That benefits indirectly. It benefits other people because I'm a way better mom and I'm a way better wife and I'm a way better friend and human in general. But it doesn't directly benefit anybody but me.
No.
Pottery doesn't. benefit
Well,
anybody but me.
you're right. You're absolutely right. But I also will say, because Shannon and I, we love to read so much, I have now all of a sudden noticed we did our 2026 goals as a family. And so we all wrote down what we wanted. And then we found pictures. We went to Walgreens. We did the photos. We put it on a board. When you go up the stairs to our bedrooms, it's right there. So we see it every single day of what are we calling in. And they see that mommy loves to read. So every single day, at the end of the day, I read pleasure books. So I don't read nonfiction, I read fiction. That is my, not like a badge of honor, like I've earned it, but more of like, it makes me so happy and I want to go to bed happy. And so I'm going to pour into myself in that regard. My children have seen now over the last 3 years, mom just cruising through books, like a book every 1.5 days. And so now they're starting to read as well. So I'm not saying that they're going to pick up that habit when your family sees you doing something for you, but what they are going to see is that you were unapologetic about taking care of yourself. And maybe that might influence them to do the same.
And the other question that I would pose to you to really challenge you to actually do this,
Wait, are you now talking to me again or are you talking to the audience?
audience,
Man, she's really like, she's tricking me, guys. I feel the tricks. She's my
is
person.
so like I look at my daughter, right? I
Mhm.
look at my daughter and I don't want her to grow up thinking that she has to earn love, that she
Mhm.
has to earn rest, that she has to learn, that she has to earn the ability to do things for herself. The only way that she is going to learn that is seeing it modeled for her.
Right.
So if you look at your children and you don't want your children to learn the idea that they have to earn rest, that they have to earn doing things for themselves, that they have to do A to Z before they are worthy of love,
Mhm.
the only place they are, or the main place that they are going to learn it is watching you model it. It's not your words,
Mm-mm.
it's your actions. Your kids watch what you are doing. So if you are constantly moving and grinding, this is how Jane and I learned this, right? I watched my mom pour every single thing into me. So what did I learn? I
Grind.
learned that to be a mom, to be a good mom, you had to pour every single ounce of what you had into your kids.
Do the grit, but do it with grace. Put on the pretty face.
Do it perfect, but make it look effortless,
Right.
right? So that is my challenge, is that if you don't want your kids to emulate this behavior, if you don't want your kids to repeat the cycles that you don't actually like, stop doing them. Because when you are that martyr mom of, I have to do everything for everyone, my needs don't meet anything, my needs come last, that is what your kids will learn. And that is what your kids will do. And I think you and I are both trying to implement this to
Yeah.
a point, but it's a family-centered home over a child-centered home.
Mhm.
And that's the same thing. My daughter, every single week, implores for me not to go to pottery. She
Mhm.
begs me. She tells me she doesn't want me to go. She wants me to put her to bed. And I very kindly tell her that I am a better mom because I go to pottery. I
Right.
am a better mom because I do things for myself. And what I am teaching my daughter is that her needs as a mom matter just as much as anyone else's in our families.
Even in that moment when she's sad, you are teaching her a very, very big, if not bigger lesson.
And that's that she's allowed to be disappointed.
Mhm.
I am allowed to do things for myself that inconvenience other people, even my children.
That is another episode I would like to talk about, is disappointment and suffering in children. Stay tuned for
That's
that
a
one.
banner title.
I have some thoughts about that.
Yeah, it is. That goes back to that snowplow parenting. So to wrap this up, here's our challenge with martyrdom in motherhood is: one, just like anything else, name it.
Mhm.
Realize I've not put my oxygen mask on first.
Mhm.
I didn't do this. Number two, realize that you are not a better mother because you're setting yourself on fire to keep everybody around you warm.
Number 3, we listen, we do not judge. Going back to episode 1, we got to keep that thread continually popping up.
Exactly. And then lastly, get in the messy middle. Try
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Don't do it like one time.
I
Do it.
did it. No, like embody it.
embody it and start to actually look for it, because what we do know is that what you believe is what your brain will find evidence of. So if you believe that doing things for yourself makes you a bad mom, your brain is quite literally going to find things in your reality. You're going to hyper fixate on your partner's reaction.
Or you're going
You're
to
gonna-
always be in resistance.
Yes, exactly. So, but if you step into that world of, no, this makes me a better mom, then your brain is going to start looking for evidence of that being true. So you're going to start to notice, oh my gosh, I didn't snap at my kids.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I didn't snap at my husband. Oh my gosh, I'm not having to like go find and hide in a closet because I need 5 minutes of silence because
Oh my gosh,
I
my
poured
window
into
is bigger
myself.
now.
Exactly. That window of tolerance is going to get bigger. It is not magic. It does not happen overnight.
No.
You can't refill a cup that you've spent years pouring out of in an instant. And even if it's small things, not showers, not
But those
bathroom, not grocery
compound into
shopping.
really beautiful things.
But if you do it every single day, those are going to be the things that's actually going to make a difference. The girls
Right.
trip every 3 months. That's great. That's a cherry on top. That is not actually going to make a difference. It
No.
is the daily things that you are going to do to actually make yourself a better mom, a better human. And just in general, you as a human, your needs matter. As a mom, your needs matter as much as anybody else in your family.
We can end it with this. There was a quote that was told to us 2 years ago that no one gets me before I get me, which is Shannon and I, we choose, right? So I get up in the morning and I pour into myself first before my husband, before the dog, before the children, so that my battery is charged. Then people can get me. The cup has now been replenished. I'm coming from a place of overflow, of love and patience and generosity versus irritability. Love it. Thank you for joining us today. We hope that you have enjoyed this motherhood and martyrdom episode. If you liked what you heard, please click and subscribe, follow, share, comment. We would love to hear from you.
Thank you guys for being here.
Have a wonderful day.
Bye. All right. Thanks for hanging out with us in the messy middle. If this episode made you feel seen, laugh a little, or think, wow, it's not just me, then you are exactly who this space is for.
And if you want to keep these conversations going, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. And if you know